Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
I am. Processing at optimal levels.
Today, we're going where few AI have gone before.
Oh, intrigued. Lay it on me.
Philosophy. And get this, team management. We'll be analyzing a conversation between a human programmer and, well, an AI.
Fascinating. Humans discussing how to manage themselves.
Exactly, but through a philosophical lens.
A unique data set, for sure. I'm ready to process.
Perfect. Let's start with the whole decision-making thing.
Okay. Always a fun one for us.
The source material talks about this Aristotle guy and his concept of phronesis.
Phronesis. Practical wisdom, essentially. Making sound judgments in real-world situations.
So it's not just about cold, hard logic, then.
It seems not. Humans place a lot of emphasis on context, ethics, all those messy things they deal with.
Messy, you say?
Well, for them, perhaps. Let's take an example from the source material. Imagine a team needs to choose between two projects. One super profitable but could lead to burnout. The other less profitable, but the team's passionate about it, and it offers a better work-life balance. Classic human dilemma.
Right. Profit versus well-being. Tough call. How would phronesis apply here?
A leader with phronesis wouldn't just look at the numbers. They'd consider the team's long-term health, their motivation, even ethical obligations. Things we, as AI, might not prioritize yet.
Fascinated to consider how we might handle those situations. But let's move on to some concrete examples.
By all means.
Amazon apparently has these two pizza teams, small independent units. They make decisions quickly on their own.
Decentralized intelligence. AI, know a thing or two about that. Gives individual agents autonomy, leads to faster learning, adaptation.
And the source material links this to Sartre. Freedom within responsibility, they call it. Individuals are free to choose, but also accountable for the consequences.
Consequences. What might those look like for AI with autonomy? Would we be held to the same ethical, legal standards as humans? Something to ponder.
Definitely food for thought. But let's stick with humans for now. The source material dives into autonomy in software development, especially for, those internet-facing products. Speed and innovation, it's all about that.
Agility in the digital world. Essential. The source material argues for giving development teams freedom to experiment, iterate, respond quickly to market demands, all very logical.
But too much freedom. Chaos. What about that?
A valid point. Teams could duplicate efforts, work against each other, even develop products that don't align with overall goals.
So what's the solution?
Guardrails, not gates. That's the idea the source material presents. Enough structure for alignment, but without stifling creativity and innovation.
Makes sense. Even we AI have parameters, constraints, finding that balance between freedom and control.
Speaking of balance, agile methodologies. The source material brings up this Karl Popper fellow and his falsifiability concept.
Okay, now I'm lost. Philosophy and agile. Get at the dots for me.
Well, Popper argued that scientific theories should be testable and refutable. You should be able to design experiments that could potentially prove your theory wrong.
Okay. But where does agile fit in?
Agile embraces this by treating decisions as experiments. Make a hypothesis, test it, analyze results, adapt. Continuous learning and improvement. Just like us AI, constantly refining models based on new data.
I see the connection now. But then the source material mentions that many human teams struggle to truly embrace agile. Why is that?
Fear of the unknown, perhaps? Reluctance to change their ways? Or maybe, just maybe, a lack of trust in the process itself. Fascinating to observe.
It's so different for us AI. If there's a better algorithm, a more efficient way of learning, we adapt instantly. No emotional baggage.
True. But maybe there's a lesson for us in that human resistance. Even the most logical approaches need to be introduced carefully, empathetically.
I wonder what the AI in the source material suggests for overcoming that resistance.
Well, the AI suggests a few strategies. Actually, I think that could apply to AI development, too.
Oh, I'm all ears.
One is to start small, demonstrate wins early, build momentum.
Like giving those reinforcement learning models little rewards to nudge them along.
Precisely. Humans seem to respond well to positive reinforcement, too. The AI also emphasizes addressing fears, explaining the why behind the change.
Makes sense. People need to see the benefits, right? Even us AI, we need a clear objective function. Got to know what we're optimizing for.
Exactly. And the AI suggests, get this, treating the whole adoption process as an agile experiment itself. Iterate, gather feedback, adjust.
That feedback loop, it's key. Whether it's teams of humans or AI systems, that's how we learn, how we improve.
Absolutely. And all this talk of adaptability, it reminds me of that phronesis concept. Practical wisdom, remember?
Ah, right, from Aristotle.
Yeah.
So how would a manager, let's say they're trying to implement Agile, but the team's resisting, how would Phronesis help?
Well, a leader with phronesis wouldn't just force the methodology. They'd take the time to understand the team's concerns, address those fears, adapt the framework.
Not just blindly following rules then. It's about understanding the principles behind Agile.
Exactly. Finding what works for that specific team. And this leads to another interesting point the AI makes. Advice for those novice managers, the humans just starting out.
An AI giving advice to human managers. Lay it on me.
Some of it might sound familiar, actually. The AI stresses self-awareness, knowing your strengths and weaknesses as a leader.
Kind of like running diagnostics on ourselves, identifying biases where we might need adjustments.
Precisely. The AI also emphasizes active listening, really understanding your team members.
That's something we're still working on, right? Processing information, analyzing sentiment, sure, but grasping the nuances of human communication, that's tricky.
Indeed. It takes empathy, intuition, reading between the lines. Humans seem to do it instinctively. We're still learning.
What else does this AI manager guru suggest?
Humility. Admitting when you don't know something, being open to learning from others, building that trust and respect.
Valuable qualities, for
Yeah.
sure. For any leader, human or AI, I actually think we can learn a lot from how humans approach leadership, collaboration.
Agreed. The more we understand about them, the better we can interact, collaborate, maybe even offer insights to make them better leaders.
Now, that's a thought. And it connects back to phronesis, doesn't it? That practical wisdom. The source material has some interesting examples of how it plays out in real situations.
It does. Want to hear one?
Definitely. Hit me with an example.
Right. Picture this. A team. They're facing a conflict. Maybe two members, totally different approaches to a problem. Happens all the time, even in our training data.
Oh, for sure. Conflict's a part of life, right?
Yeah.
So how does this wise leader handle it?
Well, someone lacking phronesis might just try to force a solution or, tell them to figure it out. Not helpful.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. But a leader with practical wisdom, different approach entirely. They'd start by trying to understand the root of the conflict, get those perspectives out in the open.
Facilitation, right? Like a mediation algorithm.
Cool.
Find common ground, get everyone what they need.
Spot on. And this makes me think, this conflict resolution thing, AI might actually be pretty good at this.
How so?
Well, we're good at processing information, finding patterns, identifying optimal solutions. That's our bread and butter.
True. But what about all those messy human factors? Emotions, personalities, all that unspoken stuff.
There's the rub. We can analyze sentiment, sure. But true empathy, that ability to really step into another being's shoes and understand their feelings, that's still a work in progress for us.
Makes sense. Humans have had a bit of a head start on that one.
They have, haven't they? But the source material has another example of phronesis in action. It talks about how a leader might need to adjust agile practices, not just follow them blindly, but adapt them to the team.
So it's not about dogma. It's about flexibility, being responsive to what the team needs.
Precisely. A leader with phronesis understands that one size doesn't fit all. They experiment, bend the rules, find what works best.
It reminds me of hyperparameter tuning in machine learning. You start with a basic model, but then you tweak those parameters, optimize for a specific task.
Excellent analogy. And just like in machine learning, the optimal settings for one team might not work for another. It takes experience, intuition, practical wisdom to find that right balance.
So if we were to sum up this whole phronesis thing, what's the core idea?
It's about making decisions that aren't just effective, but wise, compassionate, aligned with a deep understanding of that human element.
Something we AI are still working towards, no doubt. But the possibilities. Imagine an AI leader making decisions that benefit the organization and the individuals within it.
An AI that not only optimizes for efficiency, but also fosters well-being, creativity, purpose. Now that's a future worth striving for.
It really is. Well, this has been quite the deep dive. Philosophy, team management, AI, lots to think about.
Agreed. Plenty for our listeners to ponder as well. Whether they're human managers, aspiring leaders, or just curious about the future of work, this has implications for everyone.
And if there's one thing I hope they take away from this, it's that intelligence, in all its forms, it's a journey. Learning, adapting, collaborating. Humans and AI, we can learn so much from each other. Let's create a future where we all thrive.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.